So what I want to do is, I want to see when my vehicle turns 100,000, I want to see how much oil does it use in the 5,000 mile interval that I change oil. And I'm going to have it tested, have the oil tested, and see how the engine wear is, if any. I'm going to be changing the oil at in my 2014 Honda CR-V. Today it has 95,111 miles. When I change the oil, I normally like to do it plus or minus 50 miles either side of every 5,000. It's obviously a little bit more, no big deal. I had to go somewhere far yesterday, so that's why it's a little bit more. But I always have used, since I first bought the vehicle, I've always used, when my first oil change was the Mobil 1 Extended Performance 0W20. And as you can see, what I do is I pre-measure it in these 3 containers, or Rubbermaid containers. Takes 2.5 quarts, and then that way, when I go to fill up the oil, it's already a given. I don't have to worry about pre-measuring it. It's already measured out. I just pour it in. Something I always do with my filters is I'll make a mark at the bottom. That way I know when I turn it on, when I'm about 3/4 to 1 revolution, so I know how tight I am, and I just hand tighten these. So now I'm ready to fill the oil with my pre-measured 0W20. That drain a little bit, put the rest in. Okay, now that everything's done, I'm going to turn the vehicle on, and then I will double check for any leaks. Here you see the level of the oil on the dipstick. This is after I let the engine settle a little bit, the oil drained back in, and then checked it. Alright, so today is February the 23rd, 2020, and I'm going to be changing my oil a little earlier than normal. It's going to have 99,711 miles. The reason for the earlier change is it's going to be real nasty this week, and I've got to rotate my tires, so I just soon do it when it's not so cold and snowy or raining, what combination we're going to be getting. So the last time I changed this, the previous clips showed November 9th of 2019 with 95,111 miles. So the miles on this oil is 4,600. And so the next clip I'm going to show you is going to be the oil level after those 4,600 miles. And we'll see how that's changed, and everything hereafter then will be from today's change at the 99,711 miles. Now here you see the oil as it is today. Alright, so what I've done is I've taken screen grabs from the 2 different dates. This one being the oil level on November 9th, 2019, and this one being from today, February 23rd, 2020, just to kind of show you the difference in one screen. So here you can see the top level and the add level. Here you have the top level, and here you have the add level. Okay guys, since I want to have my oil tested, what I'm going to do here is I bought this brand new. This is one of these water bottles, and I wiped it down on the inside with isopropyl alcohol, and same thing with the lid, the cap, and then I blew everything out and let it dry. So since this is a bigger container, it's got a much bigger opening than the little containers they send you. I'm going to put the oil in here and then just transfer it into the small container with this convenient spout here. Should make it a little less messy, so we shall see. Okay guys, so I rotated my tires, and I just gonna put the rear jack stands down. I had them on all fours, so I'm just about to take the rear off, and then I'm going to drive them up on my boards that I have, because it's much easier to get underneath there than with these jack stands to change oil. So I'm going to send this sample to Blackstone. Here you see the little container they give you, and you can see the difference of trying to collect this, and I didn't want anything to go into the drain pan, which has already been contaminated. You know, I wanted fresh container, so you can see the difference. So then, like I say, I will take this and pour it into this bottle. Alright, let's give this a try. Got some newspaper down here just in case. That is perfect. Couple little drips. Take a paper towel here. Not drips, just a little bit there over. We'll wipe that off. And cap it. And we'll just wipe this off. Perfect, just what I was hoping for. Alright, so I've got the oil drained. I'm going to be putting on this time a Napa Gold filter, and I always like to pre-measure my oil. As you see here, it takes 4.5 quarts. So each one of these are 2 quarts, and then we've got the half a quart here. It just makes it easier for me. Since I buy it in the large 5-quart containers, I've already got everything pre-measured. Put the filter in the fill area on the car, the filler, and all we've got to do is just pour these in. I don't have to worry about how much I'm getting in. It's already done. Alright, so I'm ready to put the oil in. I've got the filter on. So I'm going to go ahead and pour in my oil. It's very windy out today, as you can hear. Look how simple that is. I'll let that set there a little bit. Make sure it all drains out. So what I'm going to do now is just cut this filter open. I've let it drain, and the only thing I did do is I took some paper towels and wiped off the oil, and you're going to get a little bit of paper towel that was, when it got wet with the oil, kind of got inside those holes. But we're going to go ahead and just cut this open and just, I want to check out the filter. When I cut these open, I like to do it nice and slow. No need to crunch down on them and beat the hell out of the case of the filter. And we are just about there. And there's still some oil in there. I will collect that. That didn't drain all out. Okay, so there was some oil in there that didn't all come out. That anti-drain valve did its job. But, so the filter that I had in there was this Honda 15400-PLM-A02, and it says here it's an A60212. And this is the case. You can see where it has A60212. I wiped it all out and everything. The end cap. And then this, the filter element, this would be sitting in there like this. If this is the part that, you know, obviously screws into the engine, this would be sitting in there like that. That would be going over it like that. Got a nice spring tension there. Now I count 49 pleats, starting from where this metal, I believe, would crimp it. There's 49, including that crimp there, 49 pleats to the filter. I sent the bottle of the oil sample in on a Monday. It's got a tracking label, so they received it Friday morning, the following Friday in the morning. The Monday then, after the weekend, in the afternoon, they called to get my credit card number. Now, they don't charge it until they actually do it, because it was the following Friday that they charged a card and then emailed a PDF with the what you see in front of you here. And then I had a few questions, so I did call up, just because this is the first time I've ever had this done. And I did speak to a gentleman. I believe he said his name was Brian. So here's the report that you'll get from Blackstone. And I have the lab number, report date, code, unit ID, client, and payment. And what I did, by the way, when it came to payment, is I just put on the piece of paper that you put in with the sample, I just stated to please call me. I didn't want to leave that in there in case something happened. One other thing I did to that, I put a little hot glue on the threads of the cap, and then just tightened it down. Put the cap on and tighten it down. They said that would be fine. Just, I guess, a preventative to keeping it from possibly coming off. And I didn't have any problem with it going through my post office. So I called the postmaster ahead of time, and he said, nope, no problem. So then they'll give you a quick synopsis of what's going on with the engine. You'll see there under comments. Here you see the information that I gave them on the miles on the oil, the miles on the vehicle at the change, and the sample date in which I took that oil. And they also ask you, did you add oil? And in my case, I didn't, so there's 0 quarts. Now, I was told that the first 6 things there, the aluminum, chromium, iron, copper, lead, and tin, are what you want to look at. He said those are from wear from the engine or metal pieces, and he said that's what you would gauge engine wear from. And all those numbers look good. 309, 011, and if you look at the universal, 309, 210. Well, one thing I do want to make note of up here, that it says here about the that the average for this type of engine after approximately 6,800 miles on your oil, you did the shorter run of 4,600. And I asked him, I said, well, what do you mean by the 6,800? And he was just saying that that is the oil change interval based on other samples that they have seen. So people must change these. That's just what the average was. 6,800 miles is the average when you take the oil changes that people do on this oil. Now, the other elements that you see there after the first 6, Brian said that those are from the additives in the oil, and a few of the elements could come from contaminants. All those numbers looked really good. We get down to the bottom, properties, and we have the viscosity of the oil sample at 210 degrees Fahrenheit. It's right within the values that it should be. And then the next one is just the same thing but in centigrade. The flash point, now he said that there was, as it showed up in the comments, there was, and I asked about this, he said there was a little bit of fuel dilution, which brought the flash point down to 340 degrees. And one thing I told him, this was winter oil, and sometimes when I do have my dog with me, because I don't let a car idle in the morning. I'll start it up. If it's real cold, I do let it, idle for a minute, just so that the oil goes through it. I don't want to just start it and take off. But sometimes if I got my little dog with me, I will actually, if I'm in a place where it's right there, I'll lock the door, let it idle, go in, where I can see the car, obviously in a good area, and it may idle for a bit. He said that can contribute, but he said it was nothing to sleep to lose sleep about. And then you see the fuel percent, the antifreeze, water, insolubles. I said, what is insolubles? And he said the primary source is the oil itself that's been oxidized through heat or use. And he said fuel blow-by can contribute to that. So, all in all, I'm very happy. This, again, like I said, was the first time I've ever done a report in all my years on a vehicle. And this being an aluminum engine and a 4-cylinder, and letting the oil go longer intervals. Normally I've always done just 3,000. I just was curious, and so again, very happy that I did it, and I will continue to do the same.